Okay, that must be.
Welcome everyone to the very first Board of Commissioner meeting for 2022. We're sure hoping that 2022 is going to rise to the occasion of kindness and goodness to each other. It's Tuesday, January the 11th, 1:30 p.m. and we'll start the meeting with invocation by Commissioner Bergman and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Clerk Justin Robach. Will you stand, please?
Would you join me in prayer, please? Heavenly Father, as we begin this new year, it's good for us to look back at all the ways that you have blessed our community. If we were to keep a record of them, we could not complete it in our lifetime. So we pause as we begin this new year simply to say thank you for your faithfulness and your goodness to us, to our families, and to our community. We are reminded also of the beauty of your creation as we marvel at the recent snowfall and the cold, crisp ice and snow that crunches under our feet. Help us to take time to reflect on eternal instants, those times when we pause long enough to see your majesty in the creation, in something or someone that we see. As we have seen the negative effects that this pandemic has had on our community, we ask for a blessing on our new year. We pray that it will be a year of goodwill and peace for our families, our citizens, and those who watch out for our welfare. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Garcia.
Here.
Mr. Baumann.
Here.
Mr. Zylstra.
Here.
Mr. Dannenberg.
Here.
Mr. Meppelink.
Here.
Mr. Terpstra.
Here.
Mr. Holtlohr. Mr. DeYoung.
Here.
Mr. Kyers.
Here.
Mr. Bergman.
Here.
And Mr. Fensky.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Presentation and petitions and communications.
None from us.
Thank you. Before we go into public comment, I have a few comments I'd like to make as board chair. A lot of this is for the public, and so I'll start off by introducing myself as Matt Fensky, board chair for the next year. This is my 10th year as commissioner, and I have served as vice chair for the past 2 years. As a county board, we oversee the county's budget at approximately $206 million. Each commissioner represents a specific district within Ottawa County. However, all of us represent the entire county. There are over 30 formal county committees, and board commissioners are assigned to each of them. Standing committees such as Finance and Administration, Planning and Policy, Health and Human Service, Talent and Recruitment. Other committees could include Economic Development, Agricultural Preservation, Parks and Recreation, Community Employment and Training, Community Mental Health, just to name a few. Some of Ottawa County committees need volunteers to serve as committee members. If interested, please go to miottawa.org and you will find the available committee assignments in which to apply. Committee meetings are streamed for public viewing online. Some committee meetings are open to the public with an opportunity to offer public comment. In-person, Zoom, live streaming comments are currently limited to 3 minutes. However, you can submit written comments or questions as well. These comments, questions will be placed in our county public comment log along with an occasional administrative responses. This information is accessible through our county clerk's office. Board of Commissioners want to make sure that we do everything we can to strengthen our connection with our constituents. We wanted to make sure that we are open, honest, and transparent, and uphold Ottawa County's motto stating, "Where you belong." Thank you. At this time, we will open it up to public comments. Please come to the podium, give your name. And I think you've already signed up, at least it's my awareness, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
First public comment is Barbara Van Horsen.
Barbara Lee Van Horsen, 19 Lafayette, Grand Haven. I am here today as a resident, a mother, and as the experimenter at the Momentum Center, a grassroots movement to create a stigma-free community. Since our founding, we've been advocates of social justice and human rights, and that work has led us to directly serving people with mental illness, addictions, and disabilities. It's also led us to facilitating important community conversations about topics that are complex and complicated. In the summer of 2020, we convened the Anti-Racism Task Force and began a series of virtual town hall meetings on race and racism. Our town hall meetings are not debates, but opportunities for people with divergent views, opinions, and experiences to engage each other in respectful dialogue, recognizing that we all have preconceived ideas, we all have hot buttons that can get triggered unintentionally, and we call on our participants to take ownership of their thoughts and their reactions and to practice active listening. It's our belief that the ability to have these kinds of honest and open conversations are critical for the well-being of our community, particularly as we strive to create a place where you belong. I've previously submitted to the Commission a letter in support of your own DEI initiatives that has been endorsed by every organization of the Anti-Racism Task Force. It was submitted earlier in the year. It's again in your packet, and I'll leave that original. But today I'm also submitting 465 individual signatures on a statement of support, which reads in part, "We honor your commitment to make Ottawa County the place where you belong. We honor your commitment to ensuring each community resident indeed feels as if they belong here. We fully support our tax dollars allocated to the important work of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. We see the human and economic value to our community of these critical DEI efforts and ask that you strongly consider the value and impact of this office and these efforts as you seek to fill the opening of county administrator." 465 Ottawa County residents, most of whom will never attend a county commissioner meeting, have signed this statement. I'm here to offer my own voice, a voice for my organization, a voice for the Anti-Racism Task Force, and importantly, a voice for many, many voiceless, to whom you will never hear from directly. I was recently told that when we talk about racism, when we talk about its historic roots, we gain new perspectives about how we can move forward in a more just and inclusive way. Opponents might say that these discussions lead to division. If they do so, that is a choice and not an outcome. I urge you to continue your support of DEI. Your actions have a direct impact on the people and the well-being of this community. If we work together, we'll keep gaining momentum. Namaste.
Thank you, Barbara. Much appreciated.
Next is Mary Jane Evink.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Jane Evink, and I'm a resident of Spring Lake Township in District 10. I'm speaking to you today as a lifetime citizen. I've been an educator with Grand Haven Area Public Schools for 28 years, and I currently serve as the curriculum director. I'm here to applaud your efforts to create and maintain a diversity, equity, and inclusion office. Why do we need a DEI office? In June 2020, university students were expelled or admissions revoked for using racial slurs on their social media accounts, including Purdue, University of South Carolina, and Marquette University. What if those students had graduated from high schools in your district? What is our responsibility for teaching white communities cultural and racial appropriateness? There is a need to educate our communities and to remove barriers for non-white people to live, work, and invest in our communities, and the schools cannot do it alone. Grand Haven Area Public Schools has had a DEI committee for over 20 years. This is an essential part of learning for a school district that's mostly white. If we do not learn to talk about race, we will be ill-equipped for a world that does not look like ours. The research is clear. White people avoid talking about race largely due to stereotype threat. The most common stereotype of white people is that they're racist. To avoid this being confirmed, white people avoid race conversations. If we do not talk about race, we cannot engage in the national conversation happening now, and our children will not be good students or employees outside of our communities. Well-meaning individuals feel ill-equipped. I know this from research, from the annual perception surveys we give students, staff, and our community, and from personal experience. The county's DEI office is doing this important work, and we need your partnership. Schools cannot do it alone. When I taught American history, the social studies department taught students to be proud Americans, form their own opinions, and participate in the government processes. Be proud, be involved. The other side of this lesson is we must also take responsibility for other parts of American history. We have inherited communities where not everyone feels like they belong. As this is addressed through DEI work, our county will be more hospitable for growth. Economically, Grand Haven Area Public Schools is hoping to hire a diverse staff, but Grand Haven is not a destination district for non-white teachers. Our students and staff need non-white teachers to bring a non-white perspective and to address a staffing shortage. Grand Haven is a microcosm of this employment landscape. Let's work together so that everyone feels like they belong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Next, we have Todd Craigshield.
Todd Craigshield, good afternoon. I've had the privilege of being in this community for the past, well, we won't do the math, but I've had the privilege of working with the marginalized and people of color in our community for the last 12 years. And I'm growing a lot and I'm learning a lot regarding DEI work. I know our community is working on DEI stuff, but I know there's still so much more yet to be done. Even as an individual, as I grow and learning that I still have to learn much. And the most important thing that I'm learning is to listen to voices that say or share experiences of not belonging in a community that says where we all belong. My own journey and learning truths that were hard for me to hear as a person of privilege and power, assuming everyone's experiences was like my own. Driving home Sunday from Cran Hill Ranch, I was listening to a radio story of Traverse City. I don't know if you're aware of this story or not, but there were high school students who had a Snapchat slave auction of fellow Black students. Those students will not be charged because they didn't break any laws. They were just kids being kids. There was offensive language and people were appalled by it, but no real harm was done. I wonder if Nevaeh Watson, the young lady that I was listening to, felt the same way. This work of diversity and inclusion and equity is important and necessary and hard. And this work is messy. Power and privilege, if you study history, have ways of just morphing, maintaining and defending and keeping its power and its privilege. I want to continue to encourage our county to listen to the voices of people of color. Their lives, their voices, their experiences matter, especially when they feel like they don't belong and we just keep telling them, no, you belong. Is it safe for them to speak? The earlier lady spoke that many of those voices will never be here, most likely because they don't feel safe to be here. I am one of those with privilege and power. Yes, I said it, I am one of those people. And whether I intend to be racist or fail to be like we want to be, and maybe say we aren't racist, we need to listen. And if we don't intend anything or mean anything by our actions, hurt still happens. If you accidentally hit my car this afternoon and try to explain to me all the ways it was an accident, it still does not change the reality that my car has been damaged and needs to be fixed. Hurt has occurred and must be dealt with. This is the work of DEI. And I want to encourage you to keep this a priority, as your letter in the George Floyd letter statement read, that you keep it a priority. And the best way we keep that a priority is assigning dollars to it. If we don't assign the dollars to it, it means it's not important. This is necessary work if we're going to be a place where everyone belongs. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Todd.
Next is Emily Korchneck.
Hi, my name is Emily Korchneck. I live in the village of Spring Lake. I work with Barbara and the rest of the team at the Momentum Center. I also work on DEI initiatives at one of Grand Haven's largest employers, but I'm here today to talk mostly about my perspective as somebody who has lived here for 5 years and moved from the east side of the state. And when I considered moving here a few years ago, I had a number of people who kind of questioned my decision and said, really, that's where you want to go? That's not really a place where they're quite fond of outsiders. And I thought at the time that I don't think that's what's true in most people's hearts. And I still don't think that's what's true. But it is something that takes work to be able to adapt to a changing world and a changing place like Ottawa County. And I think it's work that we need to do at every level, whether that's in business, in our own hearts, and in government. And I think if we continue to work towards that, we can bridge some of the gaps that divide us and make this a better place for everybody. Thank you very much. And I hope we continue to fund the work of the DE&I office. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
That's all we have on the list at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. At this time, I will entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will you call the roll, please?
Sure. Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Dannenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Terpstra,
Yes.
Mr. Meppeling,
Yes.
Mr. Holtvluwer,
Yes.
Mr. Baumann,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
and Mr. Penske.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is under action and reports, consent items. Commissioner Dannenberg.
Thank you, Chairman Fenske. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent resolutions 1 through 7.
Second.
There's been a motion by Dannenberg, second by Bergman. Is there any further discussion? Will you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Holtvluwer,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia,
Yes.
Mr. Dannenberg,
Yes.
Mr. DeYoung,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Terpstra,
Yes.
Mr. Meppeling,
Yes.
Mr. Baumann,
Yes.
Mr. Bergman,
Yes.
and Mr. Penske.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearings, none. Action items, none. Appointments from the Talent and Recruitment Committee, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have several appointments that we'd like to bring before the board, starting with the Agricultural Preservation Board. We'd like to place into nomination the name of Kelly Goward to fill one local conservative vacancy beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024. Since there is only one for each committee, I wonder if I can just read them all and then we can just take one vote at the end? Okay,
Yes, I
good.
believe that's appropriate.
Fantastic. Regarding the Community Corrections Advisory Board, we are placing the name of Heath White to fill one Michigan Department of Corrections vacancy beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2023. Also for the Community Corrections Advisory Board, we are placing forward the name of Matt Messer to fill one Chief of Police vacancy beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2023. For the Community Action Agency Advisory Board, we are placing into, or moving forward, get the name of Allison El Kasabki to fill one public sector vacancy beginning immediately and ending December 31st, 2024.
Is the second for all four of these boards, is that a second by you, Commissioner Bergman? Did you make that
Yes.
just as a notation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any further discussion? You want to do a voice vote on this, please?
Sure.
All those in favor of approval of the Talent and Recruitment Committee recommendation regarding agricultural, community corrections, and community action, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. Next is our discussion items and our presentations by two of our staff. First is our treasurer. The annual report, which is going to be presented by Amanda Price.
Just waiting for Madison to pull my report up. There we go. Good afternoon. As always, it is an honor to present the Treasurer's Annual Report to the Board of Commissioners. I will keep my comments brief, and I expect applause for that. And I'll just focus on some of the highlights of the year. In addition to the normal functions of the Treasurer's Office, which is receiving, investing, and reconciling the county's accounts, this year the Treasurer's Office also installed 3 more safe cash machines. And I'll remind you that those are those reverse ATM machines. So the money goes in, it doesn't, at an ATM, you get money out. In a reverse ATM, a safe cash machine, the money goes in. And so the reason we like these machines is that it increases security because we don't have daily pickups from our armored courier. We do reduce costs because we don't have daily pickups from our armored courier. We reduce risk because we don't have daily pickups from our armored courier. And then we have instant credit for those deposits when they're put in the machines. So to date, we have 5 machines in the county now. So we've also implemented an interest-only lawyer's trust account process. I'm not going to go into the great detail of that, but just to let you know that Public Defender's Office needed this put in place, and we worked with the State Bar of Michigan, the State Bar of Michigan Foundation, Huntington Bank to put this in place. We're the first county in the state to do this for public defenders' offices. I also want to just take a quick moment to really compliment my staff and to just highlight that they've been working in the office for the last 22 months of COVID. And that is something we need to do because you can't manage cash and monies when you're not in the office, but a lot of dedication and professionalism. So I just want to give them a shout out. So we're going to flip quickly to, tried this before. Sorry, Madison. It's not. Okay, I just want to go to page 4. So on page 4, you'll find the general fund investment pool. The total rate of return on the portfolio was 0.1%, which is a benchmark against a combination of the Barclays and Standard & Poor's blended index. And that was negative 0.22, which means our portfolio did better than the benchmark that we have used over for several years. The interest we earned this year was $833,966. We're experiencing low CD rates, low note rates, low bond rates. And so that greatly impacted the interest we've earned this year. And now, if we could just go to page 7, sorry, Madison. Thank you. Delinquent property taxes. We saw an increase of about 32 parcels over last year that were delinquent. We had a 17% decrease in the number of parcels in forfeiture, which was a good thing, I think, from our perspective. We foreclosed on 1 house and 5 vacant pieces of land, another really good marker. And then we did 9 financial hardship for folks who come to our office and say, look, I really can't pay my property taxes this year. We work with them. We've come up with a payment plan to get them paid on time. So we only had 9 of those this year versus 20 last year. We collected $6.2 million in delinquent taxes and then earned $971,000 in interest and fees. And I'm going to try this. Yes. Dog licensing falls under the purview of the treasurer's office, and a review of our records this year indicate that the top dog breeds are Labrador retrievers, golden retrievers, and German shepherds, same from last year. This year, top dog names are Bella, Charlie, and the increasingly popular Lucy, who just made the top 3. So we'll go on to page 13. And want to remind you that we are responsible for distributing the library penal fines. This year, we saw a 7.7% increase in library penal fines, going from $755,000 last year to $813,000 this year. I think that can be attributed to the increase in mobility of the population from 2020, where we were very rigorously locked down, to more normal life in 2021. So in 2022, these are our initiatives or our goals for this year. We're hoping to develop an RFP for a single countywide credit card processing vendor. We currently have 6. So we're going to try to, it is a big job. It doesn't sound like it's big, but you've got to get all the software to work together, and you got to get all these people to buy into it. So it's going to be a big job. And same thing with investigating having a uniform credit card fee assessment. Some departments aren't charging fees for credit card usage. Some are. We're going to try to get that more uniform across the county. And then we continue to navigate COVID-19, just dealing with staffing issues, and it's just we're dealing with that. And here we go. The Land Bank Authority, so I didn't talk about that in the midst of the sheets we hear, but I wanted to pull this back out. The Land Bank Authority, which is housed in the treasurer's office, was originally established by this board to take tax foreclosed property, rehab it if necessary, and return it to the market to encourage housing, economic development, and other public purposes. The Land Bank Authority can also be utilized by placing property in the name of the land bank on a temporary basis. By titling the property in the land bank, the property then qualifies for state funding mechanisms, which allows development of property for specific uses, such as housing, which is really an important need for the Ottawa County at this point. In 2021, the City of Grand Haven and its partner used this option for the development of Robinson Landing. I've asked Grand Haven City Manager Pat McGinnis to explain the project, bring the board up to date on its status, because I think I referenced this to you last year, just as in the beginning. So it was in the beginning stages. So I'm going to have Pat come up and talk a little bit about that right now.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners. Briefly, it is a 30-unit single-family development. These will be owned by the occupants that move in. It's not a rental project. We set up what's called a community land trust to own the real estate underneath the buildings. The individual owners will gain their equity and build equity in their home that sits on the land. And this is a forever device that will always maintain these 16 homes as available to families in that 60 to 80% income range of the area median income. So we're meeting a real need there. And this was a tremendous undertaking that took everybody pulling in the same direction. And I'm really pleased to report that Ottawa County first listened to us. They didn't slam the door in our face. The administrator's office, your corporate counsel, and the land bank and your county treasurer heard us out, gave us some expert advice, explained to us what they saw the process being. And we were able to accomplish what Amanda made sound pretty simple, but it was a little complicated to get the property transferred to the land bank, get the right tools in place from the state level, and then get the property transferred back to a nonprofit housing corporation called Michigan Community Capital to buy it back from the county and then move on. So families will be moving in next month, and you'll probably read about it. And when you do, you'll know that Ottawa County and your departments and the county treasurer's office and the land bank had a lot to do with making that happen. So we're very grateful. And this is just a kind of a pilot program. We hope to do this in other places in the county. The Community Land Trust could expand this and be active even beyond Ottawa County if possible. So we're very excited about this as one new tool in our toolbox to deliver affordable housing to the people of Ottawa County and beyond. Thank you.
I think there's some,
Oh, you put my slides up.
we did.
Oh,
So
there,
you want to
yeah.
explain where it is?
Yeah, there's a fancy logo. I love the logo they came up with, but it's right there. It's near the Grand Haven Airport on Comstock. It's actually, Mr. Bergman will be familiar with this because about 18 years ago, he said, what are we going to do with that 7.5 acres sitting out by the airport? We ought to do something with that. It's just sitting there. So this is that something. And I think he's pleased that we found a way to develop attainable housing in 30 homes. That'll be, 60 plus new residents in the city of Grand Haven and in Ottawa County. This is what one of those units looks like. 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and that $139,900 price point. Market value of this would probably be nearly $250,000 brand new. But because we were able to pull so many tools together, we're able to offer it at this price point to somebody in that 60 to 80% AMI range. Here's a view of one of the little bit more costly units. And again, the actual market value would be considerably more than that 160 to 240 number. And going up a little bigger, 3 different models out there that people will be able to choose from. And this is just sort of an artist rendering of what it'll look like when you come off Comstock and come around the corner and look up that street. It'll be a very pleasant single family neighborhood. Sure won't look like something that you would think is an affordable or attainable housing development. And I think it's a model we can really build on to do more of this in the future. Right there, like I said, across from the airport, right on that bike path there. So the kids can get right on the bike path and go down to Peach Plains School. They can go the other way to get down to shopping opportunities and medical offices, and the industrial parks are nearby where people can work. So it's probably a type of place, very walkable. People might be able to live there even without an automobile. So yeah, here's some of the bullets that I put up that we already talked about. They enter into agreements with the Community Land Trust to make sure that this stays affordable forever. That was one of the big questions we got right out of the gate. Well, if somebody buys one of these for $150,000 and it's worth $250,000, what's to keep them from just flipping it? Well, we maintain ownership of that underlying real estate so that we can maintain that affordability going forward. And again, this is made possible by cooperation of many different agencies, but here at the county level, the land bank, the board, and the county administration were all very helpful, as well as your legal counsel helped us work through the technicalities. Oh, nice aerial view. That's a little old. It's much further along than that now. We did get the asphalt in right before hunting season, so that's always a race to the end of the season, but we managed to get it. I lost a bet on that, by the way. I had to buy our public works director coffee. And that's a photo we took out there, the curb and gutter in and the asphalt in. And then there's just a list of all of the different agencies and partners that we had. And every one of these had a number of critical, creative thinking exercises with each one of them. And sure enough, when we came to Ottawa County, you were more than up to the challenge of helping us through that. So there you go. Hope I was quick enough.
So Pat, when this is officially opened and you have a ribbon cutting, are we going to be invited?
Absolutely. And now you have to show up. So yes, you'll be invited. I'll make sure that happens.
Be sure to do it on a Tuesday afternoon, after one of our board meetings.
Okay.
We can all go over there.
We'll put you on a Harbor Transit bus and bring you up there.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Hey, Pat, wait a minute, question. You said, so this development, the people that buy the homes, they buy the homes and you own the property under it? Is
Yes.
that,
Yeah, and they'll pay us $30 a month.
okay, and how long is your lease set up for that on that property?
It's perpetuity. We'll own the land. They will own the improvements on top of the property will be what they own.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. Are there any questions for my treasurer's report? Yeah, Doug.
Yes, Amanda.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I had a question on that interest, Amanda. The first one you talked about, we had did you say 800,000?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I see another one come up with collecting the property taxes, and it was 900 and some thousand. So could you explain to me, there's
sure.
that's both interest, am I correct on that?
Right, but the interest, the 833,000 goes for the portfolio that we manage for the county.
Okay,
The other monies, and let me look up here, the dollar amount. That is the interest earned on the delinquent taxes. The taxes and the fees that we collect. And so when you're delinquent on your taxes, and there are a lot of fees and
yep, it keeps going up.
it keeps going up. And so there's an incentive to pay off your taxes earlier, but those are the interest and fees we earned this year on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Zalestra?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just kind of the same vein. In 2020, the interest for delinquent properties was 409,000.
Yeah, I
And
think
then-
you're looking at an error in last year's report. I
Okay.
think that was corrected, and I don't have the dollar amount, but that was an error that got sent to the board and
Okay,
then was corrected after that. I think it was more along the lines of 900,000.
okay, so there really is no mark change. Okay,
Other than really bad interest rates right now.
okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions for our treasurer? Nice report, Amanda. Thank you very much. And
Thank
Mr.
you.
McGinnis, thank you for your portion. Very nice. Next, we have our presentation, our annual report presented by Robin Afric for our diversity, equity, inclusion. Robin?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the 2021 annual report for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. Today will mark the office's second time ever to present to you. And I am both proud and encouraged by the work that we have actually been able to accomplish, knowing that so many of you have been a part of its leading and participation since the actual establishment of the office. My intent today was to simply walk through the annual report, knowing that it's a continuation to build on the information that you were given in the first year. And it's also keeping in mind that much of what you'll see here are updates and where we stand in the progress of the office's goals. Before I do that, I want to also share some observations and feedback that I've been privy to, especially since being in a role like mine, as I'm often asked to sit at tables and honestly listen and engage with many of our employees, our customers, our partners, and businesses doing this work. There is genuine excitement that the DE&I office is here because it is strengthening and contributing toward the actualization of the county's vision, which is to make it a place where all belong. And when speaking to the different individuals and partners who feel that they belong, I find that they are more likely to invest in Ottawa County. They engage more. They give more. They spend their dollars here. They increase their volunteering. All of these things are the things we would want in a county like ours. And while, yes, our county has individuals who do this now, I'm also told that this office continues to encourage them even more, especially when things get tough. In addition, our office works very closely with businesses and CEOs who understand that this work is an economic imperative, not just for them, but for the county. Attracting and retaining a diverse workforce is absolutely critical, now more than ever. But that talent comes to our community from all over with diverse backgrounds, with diverse thoughts and opinions and families. We don't get to pick that. And they get to live and work and play here. They will not stay here unless they feel that they belong. Our county directly impacts the quality of their lives and where most will live and play. So businesses look to us to partner to ensure services and programs received by diverse customers and residents, also known as talent, are accessible in equitable ways. When Al Vanderberg established the office, there were 5 goals that were given to the DE&I office. I won't test you today to ask if you remember what they are, but those goals haven't changed. And the charge to complete those goals reached back to why this office was created. So I'm going to delve into the PowerPoint now, try to. And as you see there in our contents, we will cover the 5 different areas that will speak to the goals. Once again, going back to the origination of the office. Just a director's note. There's a lot of work that has happened and it's been very strong. So we're very excited to continue moving forward in the next year. So the first thing is, if you remember, one of the goals was to complete a DE&I strategy for Ottawa County. And so the first annual report that I shared, I presented to you the assessment, the climate assessment that looked at all of the different domains of the county itself, and to understand what our opportunities, challenges, and threats were in doing this work. We formed a DEI work group, and in this year of 2021, we were able to vote on the top 3 to 5 areas in which we think is going to make the biggest impact to start in the county. And we also, because we meet quarterly, are starting to implement those different KPI recommendations. So as you can see here, we have the DE&I strategic work group that meets every quarter. And through those 5 areas or the KPIs listed down below, you can see those are the things that we're working on. The report has been given to each one of you to review if there's things that you want to look at. It has also been made public, so it's not a secret. These are all the things that our county wants to continue seeing how we can sustain and operationalize diversity, equity, inclusion in our processes and our procedures and our programs. The second area, again, nothing new. We want to connect and partner with our local municipalities, townships, cities, and villages. So last year, we started to form a learning community of practice. And again, the learning community of practices are willing participants coming together to understand how to also do the same work. We did our pre-work, which helped everyone get on the same page, understand our definitions, learning what it is that our goals were. And in this 2021, we were able to partner with an outside organization called Multi-Training Systems. They've actually done work similar. And we are taking our steering committee to walk them through these different segments to help every of the cities, townships, and villages that are participating to actualize that work as well. The third goal was to operationalize, and you've heard this also mentioned, to finalize our implicit bias toolkit. And again, this was already completed, which was one of our main goals, but we are going to be strategic in how we choose and when we use this or roll this out based on the climate assessment. So this is one thing that has been completed, but I keep this here because it's a toolkit that will be used not just within our county, but also within our local townships, municipalities, and cities. As you also know, we've had the Cultural Intelligence Committee here at the county well before the office, and this office continues to support their activities. You know that we had our diversity forum this past year. It was online due to COVID. And the theme for this was healthy and safe communities. We once again sent out another survey into the community to understand what it was that our community members wanted to discuss and learn. And from there, what we have done is we brought in some speakers, but we tried to keep it local because we wanted to highlight individuals in our community that were actually already doing this work and the different partnerships. We did bring in Darnell Blackburn. He was actively involved in law enforcement for over 27 years, and he was able to speak to community policing as well as our sheriff and our undersheriff. We also brought in Dr. Joel Robertson, who has done work with the county on numerous levels when it comes to brain science and trauma. And we also highlighted at this diversity forum our G4d data research that you'll hear about in a little bit. As you can see there, we once again measure the results of everyone's learnings. We had about 230 participants that did register. We have 80 surveys back, and you can see there between 70, 80%, 90% of the feedback that individuals who attended have learned or want to apply something new. Once again, we launched for the CIC a newsletter that was new for 2021. This is to continue engaging and promoting the work within our employee base. And you can see from last year, we continued to work on the book challenge. We've also been able to attend a few outside events. That was something that the CIC has done many times in the past, but due to COVID, it's been limited. This year, we were able to support IM Academy, and we also went to the Loud Dinner, which I know many of you have been part of. And then very quickly, you guys have heard about this as well. This is our G4d Welcoming Initiative. So in 21, we were able to highlight all of the data that we received as part of a grant to understand the economic impacts that immigrants, new Americans, and refugees have in Ottawa County. We are able to share that information with our local community. And we are in the process now, as you probably heard when Paul Sachs gave his presentation, that his office is now going to be partnering with ours to move this forward as an economic imperative. So far right now, our G4d steering committee, you can see multiple different stakeholders from different parts of our community, economic leaders, chambers, business owners, townships, that have chosen to come on board and help us move this plan forward based on the data that we have received. And again, you have seen this before. It is accessible. These are just some very high-level snippets. What the percentage of immigrants, new Americans, and refugees are in our community. We've even compared that data to Kent County and the state. So you can see where that lines up. You can also understand the makeup ethnically where our populations are and how they contribute to the workforce. There's lots of different data that I encourage you to go through, especially depending on where you serve in your district, to understand how this impacts our county. And then I just have a video. I hope it works. Right. Do I just hit play? Back? Next. Perfect. Forgiveness for Growth is an initiative that is trying to help communities and cities around the U.S.
understand the economic impacts that immigrants, new Americans, and refugees have on their communities. Ottawa County Board of Commissioners had voted unanimously to keep Ottawa County as a welcoming place for refugees and immigrants. And in doing that, we had some feedback from the community talking a little bit about what are the impacts or what is the research on this?
We had seen similar surveys of the economic impact of minority-owned business in other areas of the state and the country, and we thought that this is a very important bit of information that we should know for Ottawa County.
When we see the amount of new Americans and immigrants that we have in West Michigan, there is a great responsibility from several organizations to make sure that all of the individuals that live in Ottawa County feel welcome, respected, and included.
Lighthouse Immigrant Advocates founder recognized the value of welcoming immigrants and refugees to our community. We are a resource in the community and act as a conduit to our clients in these communities. And we feel this is a great partnership to do that. Lakeshore Advantage wanted to get involved with Ottawa County's Gateways for Growth because really growing a diverse population base is going to be key for our economy to continue to be healthy.
We're going to learn more about how we can attract more businesses to our community, more individuals to our community, more tourists to our community. And so having this data is really going to be a powerful tool.
Having people understand and take a closer look at what's in their communities, that really helps make the community grow and prosper.
I think we can make great strides working with a program like the Gateways for Growth. I think this is very fertile ground for such a program, and I think we can actually make some great leaps forward by building on those relationships and the connections that are already here.
I would like to see this work sustained in the county, and what I also look forward to is being able to see how the local community comes around and leads in this area.
None of us has all the answers. None of us has perfect knowledge. It's only by coming together as a community, being willing to get into honest dialogue and create shared learning from one another, that we really will have a better hope for understanding what's most important. And it's only by working together that we can really affect change.
I think it's important for us to recognize that we want individuals, when they come to this city and they start businesses and they participate in the greater community, that they will feel like they have a space where they can effectively contribute in government.
I think this work is so important because our community was really founded by immigrants, and we have to continue to embrace immigrants from all over the world who really created who we are today, and make sure that no matter who you are, no matter what the color of your skin is, that you feel welcome in our community and feel like this is home to you.
It's my hope that Gateways for Growth will ultimately provide a higher benchmark for how we all get along, how we all understand each other, how we all participate in our economy and with each other and in our culture in Ottawa County.
My hope is that we can pay attention to communities that haven't been paid attention in the past. If we include everyone in the community, the entire economy of the region will flourish. But we need that inclusion to really be effective.
So we will have more to come on that as Paul's team, Paul, you're here as well. We developed that, and we look forward to seeing the fruits of that labor happen here in Ottawa County as well. Real quick highlights, the DI office has been able to serve on the ARPA task force once again to serve in the space of DE&I. The treasurer has a definition, and we're absolutely happy to help. Another fun fact, I don't know if you remember Jessie, who was our intern last year. She has won an award. I'd love to highlight that as well, out of Grand Valley, which is where she took her master's for DE&I. She has been a critical part in the office and the work, and so she's moving on. Now she's working at Kent County, but she's absolutely been incredible for the office in this past year. The other thing that we've been able to do, I want to say thank you to Commissioner Roger Bergman for partnering to present at the MAC Legislative Conference. And also I had the honor of going to Portland to also share about the office with 80+ other nationally counties, cities, et cetera, who are also trying to do this work. And we were able to share some best practices, and they recognize this is an imperative for them as well. One more quick highlight, the Family Justice Center, the leaders from there, Kevin Bowling and his team, we were able to partner and take a trip out to Peckham, which is in Lansing. Not sure if any of you are familiar with them. They are a nonprofit, but they have a universal design that they have built within their structures, and that is to help other, they give tours, to help other localities, individuals, organizations understand what it means to be inclusive and accessible in services. And so taking this group there to understand that will help inform the Family Justice Center and the things that they're going to work on as it becomes more part of our community. So that also happened. Again, we have multiple partners. I can't thank enough. You will hear probably more from them as the year goes forward. But I just want to say once again, thank you for allowing me to share these updates. And if you have questions, I am happy to take them now.
Wonderful report, Robin. Very nice. Thank you. Gentlemen, commissioners report, questions for Robin? One of the things that kind of struck me was one of your stats there, you know, being the largest and fastest, well, not the largest, but seventh largest, but the fastest growing county in the state of Michigan, and sometimes being number 2, sometimes number 3 in agricultural production. It looks like 29% of immigrants that come into our county are in that particular field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, according to that snapshot, yes.
That's very important, because I know that our agricultural community during different times really needs folks to work, and sometimes they have to plow up huge asparagus fields. They just don't have anybody to pick. So it's really it really fills a significant void in our ag community. So once again, nicely done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll move into the report from our county administrator, Mr. Shea.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I couldn't meet with you in person here, and hope to get back to in person as soon as possible. Just a couple things to talk about. Robin mentioned the Family Justice Center. We are meeting with the integrated project delivery team, the architect and contractors on Friday to go over the budget for this program. From what we understand, the current costs that they've calculated appear to be higher than what we've budgeted. So we're going to take a look and see what we can do to resolve that issue. We're also going to talk about the project schedule and the best time to bid this out, and compare that to also, if we're issuing bonds, when is the best time to issue bonds before interest rates go up. So all of those things we'll be talking about on Friday. A day earlier on Thursday, the ARPA task force is meeting, and we're going to discuss a number of things. As I mentioned before, there are 5 buckets. 3 of them have to do with affordable housing, human service needs, and business needs. And we're going to talk about issuing a request for qualifications for a bucket manager, so that the county can deal with a manager who then deals with, excuse me, who then deals with all the different applicants under that particular bucket. We'll also discuss the latest calculations for lost revenue, which is one of the eligible criteria under ARPA, and whether the bucket managers need any help in terms of administering this program, because many of the potential bucket managers have limited staff to do so. The other thing, just as an update, you may have heard that the governor had vetoed Representative Luke Meerman's bill to add a 5th Circuit Court judge. She really did this not because she was opposed to adding a judge here for the 20th Circuit, but she also wanted to see additional judges added in Wayne and Muskegon counties, and another judge retained in Saginaw County. So there's a Senate Bill 694, that addresses that among other things would add a 5th Circuit Court judge here in Ottawa County, effective January 1st, 2023. for an initial term of 8 years. That has passed the Senate, and that's coming up before the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. And all indications are there should be support for this bill. And again, the governor has indicated that she would sign it if it makes it out of the House, which we expect it to do. The other thing you may have heard on the vaccine mandate from the federal government, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments on that this past Friday. And we expect the Supreme Court to issue a decision pretty quickly. So if the Supreme Court rules that the federal government does not have the authority to issue a vaccine mandate, then the county will not issue one on its own. But if the Supreme Court comes back and says the federal government does have the authority to issue a vaccine mandate, then we will comply with it. We do follow the rule of law. And in preparing for that, just in the event the vaccine mandate does go through, Human Resources has been surveying all of our employees to determine who's vaccinated and who is not. We've received about a 90% response rate so far. And just preliminary numbers, about 71% of the employees are vaccinated, so 29% are not. And the other thing is we're waiting for MIOSHA, which will actually be the enforcement arm for this if it does go through, to issue their final rules on how the testing will go for those employees that choose not to get vaccinated and have to comply with the masking and testing requirements. We're waiting for MIOSHA's final rules so that the county can finalize what our protocols will be in terms of how tests will be performed, how they'll be monitored, who pays for the tests, et cetera. And then finally, we just learned today, and we're still digesting this information, that the Federal Department of Labor issued some guidance stating that beginning January 15th, health plans must cover or reimburse the costs for over-the-counter at-home rapid COVID tests without requiring the health plan participants to pay for the cost of that. And so we're digesting that to see how that will work. Regardless of how that does work right now, we understand there's a pretty good nationwide shortage of tests. So even if the health plans end up having to pay for those, the bigger challenge is actually being able to get those tests. And then finally, I just want to thank Amanda and Robin for all of their hard work and dedication. They've been very helpful to me, as well as a lot of dedication to the county for all of their hard work last 5 months and even before that. So just wanted to do a shout out to them. So that's what I have for you today.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Shea? Okay, thank you again. Next is general information, comments, and meetings attended. Seeing none, we'll move into our second opportunity for public comment. I know that we're going to open it up to if someone's on Zoom or is trying to come in with.
Currently, we do not have any public comment on Zoom, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll make it quick. We're adjourned.
All right.